can trigger me, but they'll never figure me out. Look at me now, I bet you're probably sick of me now, ain't you, mama? I'ma make you look so ridiculous now. I'm sorry, mama, I never meant to hurt you, I never meant to make you cry, but tonight I'm clean.
Well, it's been a while. I think it's time. I've given enough time to my mom to I don't know, to get into rehab. Back into rehab. You guys are probably saying, what? Back into rehab? Yeah, back into rehab. Well, let me just roll a clip for you real quick. Go ahead, watch this.
Alright guys, so my mom's still in rehab. She's always wanted a Dodge Magnum, and I found a 2012 for a decent price. Hopefully she'll complete rehab, and this will be waiting for her. It's one less thing she'll have to worry about. So, that's it.
So there you go. I helped get my mom a car to get her ready, you know. Figured she'd knock out 6 months in rehab, we'd be good to go. She'd have a car, we'd have her some money saved up. Well, go figure, the week that I get her car, and she knows about it, she ends up going to the hospital. She ends up leaving rehab because she hurt her arm or her shoulder or some bullshit, right? And so I go pick her up from the hospital, and she tells me she doesn't want to go back to the rehab. She said, it's garbage there, it's this and that. Dude, how you can make a left-hand turn from back here? Dude, people need to learn how to drive. So I tell her, all right, well, so my mom says, hey, pick me up from rehab. I don't want to go back there. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, what are you talking about? You have to go back. It's one of the other areas I grew up around here. Look at that shit. So I tell my mom, all right, I pick her up from rehab. We're going to go get her stuff. And I told her, I'm like, you need to get back into rehab. She's like, well, this place sucks and it's too hard and blah, 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 and this and that. And she's like, I'm not going back there. And I was like, okay, where are you going to go then? So I figure she has a car now, right? She'll get into it. She's like, I know another rehab center. I'm going to go there. I said, fine. You do that. So like 2 months go by, you guys, and I haven't heard from her from the time she left rehab, right? 2 months go by, I haven't heard from her, none of that. And you know, I'm talking to my wife, and my son happened to be around, who is old, he's 15. He says, Dad, wait, Nani's not in rehab anymore? And I was like, no, she's out, because I didn't tell any of my kids anything. And he's like, oh, okay. And I was like, all right, no big deal, right? I thought that would be the end of it. 2 days later, 2 days later, he asked me again. He's like, wait, Dad, Nani left rehab? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, why? And I was like, well, I don't know. She hurt herself and she didn't like how the rehab was going. So she checked herself out. And he got real quiet. And my son, he's 15. He knows a lot about, my childhood, where I grew up, things like that. And he was bothered. And I could tell. And I was like, I'm like, are you okay? Like, what's wrong? And he's like, yeah, like, why did she leave rehab, Dad? I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I'm pretty sure this addiction is a tough thing for a lot of people, you know? And he was like, okay, is she going back? I'm like, I don't know, you know, I don't know what she's doing. And it bothered him. And you know what fucking pisses me off is that she sat on my son's bed the days before rehab and promised him that he would fucking, that she would be there for my son. She would be at his football games. And you guys know, like, I love my son. He's an awesome football player. My mom's missed a lot of his life. She missed his first 2 years of football. And she promised him. She sat on my fucking son's bed and said, I promise I'm going to be at your games. I'm going to be in the stadium watching you play. And that's what bothers me the most, is that she made a promise to my son. You know, fuck me, like, you know what, let her, it is what it is. I was just pissed that she hurt my son, you guys. Like, you can hurt me, I've been dealing with it, but you don't fucking make a promise to my son or my kids and then you go and break them. You know, here we are in March and I haven't heard from her, you know, and I'm gonna keep it that way, you know. You know, like I said, it's one thing to say, to break my heart and put me through all this, but you don't fucking put my kid through this. You don't fucking sit on my son's bed and promise him you're gonna be there for him and you're gonna be at his games and she's sorry for this and that. Like, that's where you cross the line with me, is my family. Those are my kids. So that's the update. I told my family, don't ever call me again about my mom at all. I don't care if she's ever in the hospital. I don't care about any of that anymore. Don't ask me about her. I'm not going to try and find her. I don't want to deal with her at all. So that's where we're at. I'm done with my mom, you guys. You saw everything that I went through and you guys went through, and all the videos you watched, you guys were there for that too. So I think I should go left. So there it is, you guys. When it comes to my kids, I don't mess around, and you know, my mom crossed the line. Like, I can tell my son was bothered and affected by that. And a lot of it too was because he felt bad for me, and I told him, don't feel bad for me. I'm okay. Like, none of that bothered me. Like, if, you know, there was a chance she wasn't gonna go finish rehab, that didn't bother me. It didn't affect me. But when you sit there and make a promise to my kids, and now I know it bothers and affects them, like, that's, like I said, I draw the line. So whatever she does with her life, that's up to her. You know, the only time I ever want to hear from her is when she's telling me she needs me to come pick up her car because she's going into rehab. She's at the rehab facility. Other than that, I don't want to hear from her ever again. At all. So I guess that's all I have to say, you know. Thank you guys for watching, listening to my story. But I think I'm done with the saga of my mom and her drugs and her broken promises. Bye, 041, I'm out. Peace.
One more time. I said I'm sorry, mama. I never meant to hurt you. I never meant to make you cry. But tonight, I'm cleaning out my closet.